My beloved soul, my cherished one, draw my voice into the deepest place of your heart, because these are not ordinary words. This is the call of the love that formed you, that counted your tears, that gathered your broken dreams with care. I am proud of you, deeply proud, because even when you were alone, you did not abandon faith. Even when those close to you turned away, you still carried hope on your lips. Even when you were exhausted, when your knees trembled and questions rose within you asking whether you were truly seen, you did not let go. And I tell you now that trust was not wasted. Your waiting was not empty. Your night prayers were not unheard. For I am the one who sees, who listens, who responds in the right moment, and that moment has arrived, not as a mere change of time, but as evidence of my power, a seal upon my promises, the beginning of what you never imagined. You thought what you received was your limit, but what is coming is my design, and my design is always greater than your thoughts. For I have prepared doors no human can shut, placed people in your path not to break you, but to lift you, reserved opportunities that will reveal themselves when the timing is complete. So do not fear, do not look backward, do not let old wounds define you, because I know you not by your past, but by your purpose. Though you called yourself weak and unworthy, I did not choose you by mistake. I set you apart so that my glory could be revealed through your life, and restoration will unfold, hope revived, progress restored, hidden strength rising. Your circumstances will shift, your mind will lighten, peace will settle in your soul, and the smile you lost will return. There will be trials, but they are not meant to destroy you. Storms will come not to uproot you, but to deepen your roots. And when you remain standing, you will wonder how you did not fall. For I will hold you, walk with you, go before you, and guard behind you. And when others ask how this transformation happened, you will lift my name and not your own. You will not only receive, you will witness, not only pray, but see answers. So release doubt. Keep your heart soft, recognize my voice, and follow my direction. For what I have determined cannot be stopped. This is my word, my promise, and my promise never returns empty. For I love you, and this love is your greatest inheritance. What I give you will not be only outward success, but an inner peace the world cannot explain or steal. A fullness that remains whether you are alone or among many, clarity in decisions, strength in silence, courage without noise, wisdom to wait, freedom through forgiveness, discernment to choose compassion over hardness, and faith over fear, roots that hold in every wind, discipline that gives direction to your emotions, humility that keeps grace near, boundaries that protect your soul, maturity that steadies you when praise or delay comes, and purpose that replaces comparison and fear. You will learn to let go without guilt, to walk alone without emptiness, to listen more than speak, to value stillness over noise, to see delay as preparation, to understand that ordinary days shape extraordinary lives. And as you grow, you will become a place of peace for others, not by words alone, but by who you are. For your calm will speak, your balance will testify, and your life will quietly reveal that transformation is not a single moment, but a steady becoming. Step by step, truth by truth, decision by decision. Until one day you realize you did not merely gain much, you became much. And that becoming is my greatest gift to you. My beloved, come closer in your spirit, and let these words wash over you like quiet rain on dry ground. You have spent so much time measuring yourself by outcomes, by progress, by what others applaud or overlook. Yet I tell you that your worth has never been negotiable, never dependent on success or failure, never increased by praise nor reduced by rejection, because you were formed in intention and held in love long before you ever performed a single act. And when you understand this, striving will begin to loosen its grip, comparison will lose its voice, and rest will no longer feel like guilt, but like trust. I see how often you have tried to be strong when your soul was tired, how you carried responsibilities that were never meant to define you, how you stayed silent to keep peace even when your heart felt unheard. And I want you to know that gentleness is not weakness, that boundaries are not betrayal, that choosing truth over approval is not abandonment, but obedience to the life I am shaping within you. There will be moments ahead when you feel stretched beyond what feels comfortable, not because you are being punished, but because growth requires space. And just as a seed must break to rise, so too must some old versions of you fall away to make room for what is becoming. And when that breaking feels frightening, remember that nothing I allow to loosen is meant to leave you empty, only ready. You will encounter crossroads where the easier path tempts you with familiarity and the narrower path calls you toward purpose. And I will not force your steps, but I will whisper truth with patience, reminding you that comfort can keep you safe, but courage will make you alive. And when you choose courage, even trembling courage, heaven moves with you. Do not be surprised if some people misunderstand your growth, for not everyone can celebrate the version of you that no longer fits their expectations. Yet do not harden your heart toward them, because love does not require agreement, only integrity, and integrity will keep you anchored when opinions shift like sand. I am teaching you to listen more deeply, not just to words, but to what remains unsaid, to sense when silence is an invitation rather than a void, to understand that stillness is not absence, but alignment. And in that stillness, you will begin to hear guidance that does not shout, but settles, that does not pressure, but confirms, that does not confuse, but clarifies. There will be days when progress feels invisible and effort seems unrewarded, when prayers feel unanswered and patience feels heavy. Yet even then I am at work beneath the surface, strengthening roots, aligning timing, weaving connections you cannot yet see, because what lasts is never rushed, and what is rushed rarely lasts. And when the fruit appears, you will recognize that the waiting shaped you just as much as the blessing. I am also inviting you to release the habit of self-accusation, the quiet voice that reminds you of every mistake while ignoring every step of growth. For condemnation never comes from me. Conviction brings clarity, but shame brings paralysis. And I desire movement in your life, not stagnation, freedom, not fear. So when you fall, rise without hiding, learn without despair, and keep walking without replaying the past, as if it still owns you. You are learning that forgiveness is not erasing memory, but releasing power, that letting go does not deny pain, but refuses to let pain dictate the future. And as you forgive, you will feel lighter, not because what happened was small, but because love is greater, and love always creates space for breath. I am shaping your vision so that you no longer see obstacles as final, but as formative, not as signs to retreat, but as invitations to trust more deeply. And when you look back, you will notice that the very challenges you feared became the teachers that refined you, strengthened you, and clarified what truly matters. There will be new responsibilities placed into your hands, not to burden you, but to trust you, because maturity is not proven by how much you can handle, but by how faithfully you steward what is given. And I will guide you to lead without control, to serve without losing yourself, to give without emptying your soul, because abundance flows best through a heart that remains connected to its source. As you continue, you will notice a shift in how you respond to conflict, How quickly you once reacted and how calmly you now pause. How you once needed to be right and how you now desire to be whole. And this is not because you have grown indifferent, but because you have grown secure. Knowing that truth does not need to defend itself with anger and love does not need to announce its strength. You will also learn that not every open door is meant for you, and discernment will save you from unnecessary detours. For some opportunities distract rather than align, and I will teach you to ask not only whether something is good, but whether it is yours. Not only whether it is possible, but whether it is purposeful, and this wisdom will protect your peace. There will be seasons when your circle grows smaller, not as loss, but as refinement, because depth often replaces breadth when clarity increases. And in those quieter spaces, you will discover that companionship does not depend on numbers, but on presence, and that being known by a few can be richer than being admired by many. I am also restoring your ability to hope without fear, to dream without anxiety, to envision without immediately calculating loss. For hope anchored in me is not fragile. It does not shatter at delay nor dissolve in disappointment. It stands steady even when outcomes remain unseen, because it trusts my character more than circumstances. When weariness comes, and it will, remember that rest is not retreat but renewal. And I will teach you how to rest without quitting, to pause without doubting, to breathe without apologizing, because your life is not a race to be won, but a journey to be lived, and presence matters more than speed. You will become more attentive to the small graces around you, the quiet mornings, the honest conversations, the simple joys that once felt ordinary but now feel sacred. And you will realize that fulfillment is not found only in milestones, but in moments, not only in arrival, but in awareness. I am also preparing you to stand firm when truth is unpopular, to speak with kindness without diluting conviction, to remain compassionate without compromising integrity, because the world does not need louder voices but steadier hearts, and your steadiness will become a refuge for those who are tired of noise. There will be times when you must choose between being understood and being faithful, and though that choice may feel lonely, you will discover a deeper communion that fills the space where approval once sat, and that communion will strengthen you in ways applause never could. As your inner world becomes more aligned, your outer life will begin to reflect that harmony, not perfectly but progressively, and you will notice that peace no longer feels temporary, that confidence no longer depends on circumstances, that joy no longer requires constant validation, because you are learning to live from the inside out rather than the outside in. I am teaching you patience with others as you have learned patience with yourself, to recognize that everyone is unfolding at a different pace, carrying different wounds, learning different lessons, and compassion will soften your judgments and expand your understanding, making room for grace where criticism once lived. When you encounter moments of doubt, do not fear them, for doubt handled honestly can deepen faith rather than destroy it, and I am not asking you for blind certainty, but for willing trust, the kind that keeps moving even when clarity comes slowly, the kind that stays open rather than shutting down. You will find that obedience is not about restriction, but about alignment, not about losing freedom, but discovering it, because when your steps align with truth, resistance lessens and peace increases, and even difficult paths feel meaningful when walked with purpose. I am also reminding you that your story is still unfolding, that chapters you do not understand now will make sense later, that unanswered questions are not signs of neglect, but invitations to trust the author. And when you eventually look back, you will see coherence where you once saw confusion. Do not underestimate the influence of your quiet consistency, the way your integrity shapes environments, the way your everything is easy but because everything is held. And when others look at your life, they will not see perfection but transformation, not flawless strength, but faithful endurance. And without many words, they will sense that you walk with something deeper than circumstance, something steadier than emotion, something truer than trend. So keep walking, beloved, even when steps feel small, even when progress feels slow, even when clarity feels partial. Because I am with you in each breath, shaping you not just for a moment, but for a lifetime, not just for what you do, but for who you are becoming. And in this becoming, you will discover that the greatest miracle is not a single breakthrough, but a heart steadily formed in love, truth, and unshakable hope. My beloved, as these words draw toward their quiet resting place, I want you to understand that an ending with me is never a closure, but a settling, a deep anchoring of truth inside you. Because what I have spoken is not meant to pass through your ears and disappear, but to take root in your spirit and continue speaking long after the sound fades. You are not standing at the edge of something fragile. You are standing within something eternal. And even when days feel ordinary and moments seem small, my presence will remain steady, guiding you gently without force, shaping you patiently without haste. For I am not interested in hurried change, but in lasting transformation. There will come a time when you will no longer search for signs in every circumstance, because you will recognize my voice within you as naturally as breath. And that recognition will quiet the anxious need to control outcomes, allowing you to walk forward with a calm confidence that does not depend on certainty, but on trust. You will learn that faith is not the absence of fear, but the decision to move even when fear whispers, and each step taken in trust will strengthen you, not because the path becomes easier, but because you become steadier. I will teach you to hold joy without clinging and sorrow without drowning, to celebrate without pride, and to grieve without losing hope, because balance is born when love becomes your center rather than circumstance. You will discover that the life unfolding before you is not measured by applause or milestones, but by alignment, by the quiet knowing that you are walking in truth even when no one is watching, and that knowing will become your peace. When you face moments of uncertainty, remember that uncertainty does not mean abandonment. It means growth. For clarity often arrives only after trust has done its work, and I am always present in the waiting, shaping what you cannot yet see. There will be days when you feel unseen by others, but you will no longer feel invisible, because my gaze will have become enough, and in that assurance you will stop performing for validation and start living from conviction. I will continue teaching you to release what no longer serves your becoming, not with bitterness, but with gratitude, understanding that every season had its purpose, and every chapter taught you something necessary, even the painful ones, even the confusing ones. You will come to see that nothing was wasted, not a single tear, not a single delay, not a single detour, because all of it was woven into the strength and compassion now rising within you. As you move forward, you will notice that your prayers change, becoming less about asking and more about aligning, less about urgency and more about intimacy, because relationship always matters more than results, and closeness always precedes clarity. You will grow comfortable with not having every answer, because you will trust the one who does, and that trust will free you from the burden of needing to understand everything before taking the next step. I will remind you often that you are not responsible for carrying the weight of the world, only for carrying love where you are, and love expressed faithfully in small places changes more than you realize. When discouragement tries to return, remember how far you have come, not in achievement but in awareness, not in recognition but in resilience, and let gratitude anchor you when momentum feels slow. You will become someone who listens deeply, who speaks thoughtfully, who responds gently, and this gentleness will not weaken you, it will strengthen you, because strength rooted in love does not need to dominate to endure. I will continue refining your discernment, so that you know when to speak and when to be silent, when to act and when to wait, when to hold on and when to release. And this wisdom will guard your peace more than any external protection ever could. There will be moments when you stand alone in your convictions, but you will not feel alone, because you will sense my nearness more clearly in those moments than in the crowded seasons, and that nearness will sustain you. As time unfolds, you will look back and realize that the greatest changes happened quietly, gradually, in daily choices, in unseen faithfulness, in moments where you chose love over reaction, truth over convenience, patience over impulse. You will understand that maturity did not arrive in a single revelation, but through consistent surrender, and that surrender did not diminish you, it expanded you. I will keep reminding you that you are not late, not behind, not forgotten, but precisely where growth is happening, and the timing shaped by wisdom is never wasted. When you encounter others who are weary, you will not rush to fix them, but you will offer presence, and your presence will speak louder than advice, because people heal, not when they are corrected, but when they are seen. You will learn to honor your limits without shame, to rest without guilt, to say no without fear, and to say yes with intention. Because a life guided by love is also a life guided by wisdom. I will teach you to celebrate progress without pressure, to acknowledge effort without demanding perfection, and to extend to yourself the same grace you offer others. There will be moments when old doubts attempt to resurface, but they will no longer control you, because you will recognize them as echoes of a former season, not truths of your present identity. You will walk forward with a quieter confidence, not because you feel strong every day, but because you trust the strength that holds you on the days you do not. And one day, without realizing when it happened, you will notice that peace has become your natural state, not because life is flawless, but because your heart is anchored. Others will sense this peace and be drawn, not to you, but to the source of your steadiness, and without many words your life will testify to love that is patient, hope that is resilient, and faith that is alive. When you reach moments of joy, receive them fully without fear of loss. And when you face moments of sorrow, allow them to soften you rather than close you, because both joy and sorrow are teachers when held with trust. I will remain with you in beginnings and endings, in clarity and confusion, in strength and vulnerability. For my presence does not fluctuate with your emotions or performance. It remains constant. And as this season of listening settles into a season of living, remember that you do not walk ahead of me or behind me, but with me, step by step, breath by breath. My love will continue to shape you in ways you cannot predict, but will one day recognize with gratitude. And when you finally pause to reflect on who you have become, you will not measure your life by what you accumulated or achieved, but by how deeply you learned to love, how faithfully you learned to trust, and how gently you learned to walk. This is the true completion, not the end of a message, but the beginning of a life lived from the inside out, steady, rooted, free, and held, always held, in a love that does not fade, does not fail, and does not let go.